Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the SRC podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, Double R and Bucky, Rob Reese, John Harris. Good evening, my friends. How are we both?
Oh, good, gents. All good, you?
Yeah, good. Good weekend.
Yeah, good weekend for me. Good weekend for you. Probably not so good for Rob. I mean, 17 points isn't
Always,
exactly a good weekend, is it?
always a good point.
Yeah.
Always a good point.
Like, I don't know how you boys are coping, but I've had the dreaded hand dealt to me today of the in-laws visiting. They weren't meant to get here till like this afternoon. 10:30 they turned up this morning. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
who does that? Who who turns up like 6 hours earlier than you're meant to? Like you're not meant to be here till the kids finish school. That's kind of the point, so they could do crap with you and that. But no.
but at least they're not putting it out there so they can hear you complain about it.
Well, to be fair, her mother was an avid listener in my early days when before the SRC even existed. So we
Oh,
are
well,
going back
good.
a while. So before it got good, obviously, rap was, I'll be honest, rap is a little bit,
Bag of
it's
shit
going
now.
downhill. But SRC is where you need to be. It is the best. And now that I've got a headset with a little mic attached, I can move around as much as I want, and the sound doesn't change. Amazing. All right, then, boys. Enough chit
And
chat.
I'll have a large fries while you're at it.
Okay, just ruin my line straight away. I'll have to take it again now. Always causing problems. Hey, you're a Bucky. That's what you do. Hey, just for reference, John is not an actual Bucky. He just likes
I
doing
was for
betting
12
odds.
years.
Was that before
I
the
worked in
problems?
lab books for a long time.
Oh, there we go. So it's more than just an addiction. It's
Yeah, back when they were
career
Jack
as well.
Brown.
Oh
All the
Christ!
way back in the Jack Brown days, yeah.
Wow.
I was late 3 times in a 6-month period and they sacked me. But there you go.
Wow. Wow. You needed a union. Then again, you didn't have one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big
Enough
expression is
enough
thank you, fuck
enough
you,
crap.
goodbye.
Come on, boys, enough crap. We got to get on because I don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
a charger tonight.
Yeah.
Rugby. Yeah. Okay, so we'll start on Thursday night, the best night of the week, because it usually means there's some live rugby from the SRC. And this past week we had Carmarthen Quins traveling to Cardiff. Now, I don't know if either of you boys can remember your picks from last week, but you were both very, 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 very wrong. And I mean very
Yeah.
wrong. You really were. Carmarthen Quins were, oh, it was beautiful. I loved it. Could have done the ticket a little bit better, but a win's a win, and a bonus point win at cap. Even better. Not too many teams do that. Did Ebu do that last season, Rob?
So on to Saturday's action, John. Aberravon.
Yeah.
All right then. So I'm assuming I know Rob has probably most likely, maybe definitely watched it. John,
Yeah.
on the other hand, he's more interested in getting about £9 £9 down before kickoff on a Saturday. So did you watch the game Thursday?
I've seen the highlights. I
Oh,
have
that's
seen
gonna
that.
be it. That's gonna be new. That's what it's gonna be this season. We're just gonna get like 1,000 compilations of John going. I've seen the highlights. I've seen the
Yeah.
highlights. All right then. So you haven't seen as much as we do. So tell us what your take on this game was then, John. So
Oh, well, I've just so landed to be wrong in a prediction because how amazing is that needs to see these results that they're throwing up already. I'd rather all my predictions go down every week and see results in games like this, to be honest, because I didn't see that one coming at all. I don't think, apart from apart from someone else picking it out purely heart over head, I don't think many people would have picked that, would they?
yeah,
But
loads of people picked it.
they were so good, Kamal. I mean, to go in, no, it was not just like half time, 1 second half or something. No, they played two good halves there together and scored some amazing tries as well, which I didn't think that fast pitch up there would suit them, especially against Cardiff. but they fronted up. Their backs were playing amazing, and I love the way they just kept banging away at the end until they got that penalty. And thought, no, they could have easily played for a draw that game, which that would have been amazing. Come away with 3 points, but no, gone for it. Roll the dice, come up with double sixes, and come away from the capital with a win. So fair play to them.
Yeah. It was absolutely amazing, and it was a great game to watch. I mean, from my perspective, obviously, the start of both halves didn't exactly go so well. Cardiff showing what they do so well with that quick ball. What was it, like 3 minutes on the clock for the first try in the first half, and I think it was 19 seconds when they touched down in the second. That's got to be in with a shout for the record of the faster second half try. Definitely in the SRC era, possibly even longer. But like you said, some of the moves are brilliant. The first try for Ben Williams. Commentators are screaming, "Oh, I don't know if he's made the right decision," but there, Roger Lewis kicking. There's loads of space. I don't know. Can't remember what they were shouting, but Ben Williams takes that superbly out of the air, and that's not the only part of the game where he excelled. The entire back row. Ben Williams, Sean Evans, Lewis Millen, they were outstanding. They were constant nuisance in that breakdown, and that is one of the key battles that managed to keep them so much possession, which is inevitably what actually won them the game. You give Cardiff ball, they tend to score a lot of tries. So thankfully they stopped 2 more tries, different hooker each. That's always nice. Lewis Jones getting his first try of the season. That's for Sean Hawley. Sam O'Connor scored in the first round, despite it being credited to young Lewis Jones. But the third score, that line picked up by Thomas Williams. He's first year senior rugby, Scarlets Academy. He just picked there. He sived straight through, and there's some top end pace on him, and you could just see the acceleration as he cut through it. So I'm really hoping he can find that sort of shadowy in behind area in a few more games in the future, and just hit that line more often, because you're going to struggle to stop him, especially if he's from further out. So Rob, do you want to talk some positively about Cardiff, or should we keep going Carmarthen Quins?
I'm going to stick with Quins because I'll be honest. I think Cardiff would be disappointed in the way that they managed the game. To be honest, I mean, Quins go down to 13 men for a period of time late on. They never got back to more than 14 men, and you're looking at it, and it's how you manage these yellow card periods as to how the best sides, whether you're looking at just the SRC or in the world, manage their sin bin periods the best. They're straight in there with the try. They're looking to get more points again. They're looking to extend the gap. But I thought Quins dug well and stuck in there. I thought Cardiff on the floor were terrible. They didn't look like they were winning collisions. They were having to apply too many men to every single ruck, and Quins disrupted that well. As you said, a few of the names you've already mentioned. Tom Phillips, I thought, had an absolute superb game as well. And on top of that, the Quins set piece started to disrupt Cardiff. The scrum, which started to eke back towards Cardiff sort of in that second quarter, went back towards Quins. And where they've been saying that last year and coming into this season, that last 20 minutes was their biggest failure. It's the last 20 minutes has won them this game in terms of how they managed it, how they've come back into it, how they've never just let Cardiff score a try when they've had the sin bin advantage and then go on and score another couple and that's the game gone. They were straight back into them and keeping that sort of momentum stalled. And yeah, I think from a Cardiff perspective, let's look at those last 2 penalties. The one from 51 metres that Ellis Price took, and it landed well short. But what are Cardiff sort of thinking there? 33 all, you're going, right, yes, it's at home. Cardiff have more to lose than Quins, but are you going to go 80 metres against a side that has been looking good, especially when you say you get isolated? And I think that's the problem with Cardiff at the moment, and I think they're scoring a lot of quick ball try. they haven't quite got that power and experience up front just to see them through. And you can see it in defence as well. I mean, was it, well over 60 points across the first 2 games now Cardiff have conceded. They're missing the Hud boys, they're missing Sean Moore, they're missing those leaders up front. Boys like Mackenzie Martin are no longer dropping down, Gwilym Bradley, they're just not there. And I'm gonna think about how much that's gonna hurt Cardiff going forward, because Quins took full advantage of that and absolutely bossed it.
Yeah. So you mentioned Tom Phillips for there. He had a yellow card for, it was a team yellow card, but it seemed a little bit harsh. You could see he tried to get out of there. I don't know. I think I might be being a bit one-eyed by thinking it was a bit harsh. But that's what we do. Any other contentious card decisions in that game?
I thought Joe Goodchild was contentious because he should have been fucking sent off. And I'll be honest.
There's the first F-bomb of this show. There's going to be plenty more. Yeah, 100% Goodchild.
But yeah, I got to be honest. It's one of those ones. Everyone says with a Thursday night game, if you have the TMO, it offsets it, and people get an unfair advantage, etc., over others. Over a season, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Everyone's got between 1 and 4 games on the box. The better you are, the more teams you have, the more games you have online, sort of thing. So you look at that tackle, and you can't blame a referee. Everything happens in quick succession and very fast pace at this level. But it was a direct, head contact. There was a high degree of force, and he was always on the rise. So there's no mitigation there at all for any sort of reduction in sanction, which the entry point is a red card. So I think he got away with it. And I guess the one good thing is Quins got a result out of it, because not because of that decision went against them, but you do think that, what's early in this game, that Quins have typically struggled. The last 3 games at Cardiff Arms Park was 209 points to 7 in favour of Cardiff. You're sort of thinking, is this game going to just, this is it now. Quins had a chance of being in it early doors, and then it gets sort of like a chance to get into it, and then, no, that's it. Goodchild stays on, or not stays on, but comes back on after 10 minutes. But no, it was just good to see him kick on after that, and I think that typified the way that Carmarthen played the game.
One thing that I think we're seeing with Quins, and it's sort of the opposite of what I mentioned last season, is when Tom Phillips went down to injury, I think it was around November time, that sort of leader on the field kind of died away. They see, obviously, Tom Phillips is now back. He's not captain. Sean Evans is captain, but they've also got Steph Evans in there as well. So they seem to have a lot of experienced leaders, all 3 former professionals, obviously 2 from last season. So I think that's what's holding them in good stead. It seems to have been, really pushing the standards as such. But,
it's going to give the other boys confidence as well, isn't it? Knowing you've got those boys in the back line with you.
Yeah. I mean, the WIU give a little stats drop. Obviously, always a bit weedy when it comes to SRC stats coming from the WIU. But, Lewis Millen and Sean Evans, I think they had loads of defenders beaten. Tackle dominance, collision dominance. It's just showing what, a couple of these extra boys are doing. I think Tom Phillips is in there for something as well. So all round, it's just looking really positive for Quins, and I'm very, very happy with that fact. So, John, you've been quiet for a while. So, Aberafan.
Yep.
Aberafan, 28. Newport, 24. Wow. Another one none of us saw coming, except for you, of course, because you went blind. You were at the game. You were live. Come on, Bart. What was it like?
Live, but a bit wonky. So I kind of had my supporter head on Saturday as opposed to my journalistic review head. It was a bit of an odd day with the bro and the sister. A little wet the baby's head day as well. So it was a thoroughly enjoyable day. And I would actually say that score, the final score, has probably flattered Newport a little bit as well, because Aberafon were so dominant in that first half. The conditions were absolutely atrocious. It emptied down on the way to the ground. I got absolutely fucking soaked through, literally about 100 yards from the stadium. I was fuming. And it was that rain that hit your head on as well, so the back of my legs were dry. But then I didn't realise how much of a wind it was until we seen some of the tactical kicking, which was much, much better from Aberafon this game. It was one of the main things that wound me up last year was the game management and the tactics. But Scott Denevo and new boy Keelan Cullen, who looks such a prospect, the outer hand kicking to get a couple of 50-20s in, which then they did convert into points as well. I didn't realise how strong the wind was that first half, so you could see why it turned a bit in the second. But to go in, the scrum was a little bit of a concern. Newport did have the upper hand in the scrum most of the game, but the effort was so much better than the week before. I think they clearly talking to the boys afterwards, they were so disappointed the way they played in Ebbw Vale. They were all knew that was below standard, and they had to come out and have a reaction this week, and they really did. They were just into it, everything. The fitness was amazing. They didn't stop, but I feel like I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't come away with a bonus point win, to be honest, from how the first half went. But it gave us that gap there for the second half, because Newport were always going to come back at some point. We're going to have that period where we do switch off a little bit, which does still happen. But it is also Newport, so they're gonna do that. And they got a couple of their tries were from Aberafon's mistakes. I think there was a knock on which led to a kick through. Another one was an overthrown line out, which and as Newport showed, give them half a chance, and they will score. So they've outscored Aberafon 4-3, but that should have been, I reckon, at least another try for Aberafon would have made that a more accurate score. But I'm just so landed to see that's the Aberafon I was hoping to see from the start of the season, and hopefully this is the Aberafon I'll see every home game now, because I think that's going to be the target winning every home game, and then all the teams below and around you. We all know the away games you've got to try and target. But the boys were so much happier after the game as well. Keelan Cullen looks a real find. You heard a lot about him in pre-season, and watching him now, he looks the missing link that we've had needed for a few seasons. As good as Ed Dunford was last year, he was a bit not so much erratic, but he would have a go at things. Sometimes it didn't always work, sometimes it did. But Keelan Cullen looks a bit more. He's got the game management. His kicking is outstanding. Out to hand down for the posts. Some of the touchline conversions from the wrong side he put over, brilliant. Scored a try, 18-point haul. Rhys Thomas, Ashton Evans in the back row were outstanding again. Just all round a really, really good performance, and I really hope they can kick on now, because I think they've got the makings of a top 5 side there. But they've got to do this. They've got to do this every week now, week in, week out.
Yeah, it wasn't a too disappointing result last week against Ebbw Vale. Obviously, it was 3 scores, but you can get blown away by Ebbw Vale in some games, just the way they tend to be, unfortunately. I obviously did notice in those highlights that a couple of the tries were from your own mistakes. It was as though you were trying to throw the game away towards the end.
Yeah.
But you're looking in good stead.
Never easy.
Newport, on the other hand, obviously 0 from 2. We saw Llandudno last season. They lost the first few games and then went on a stupid run. But do you think this is a bit of a worry for Newport, how they started the season, Rob?
Yeah, I think when you look at the fixtures, they'd have thought that they'd have taken at least 1 win from these 2 games, probably targeting 2 because the Llandudno game was at home. And you turn it on his head, you've got 3 points on the board, and they're probably lucky they got Swansea next, because they're not firing at all. There's a lot of mistakes. There's no control on the game. They're, again, fighting for what they did last year was fighting for positions where Matt O'Brien comes back into the starting lineup. Jack Lloyd comes in from the Dragons, which means Carwyn Penny goes to fullback all of a sudden, even though he's played 10 in the first game. So it's literally they're trying to juggle all these sort of combinations. I don't think their pack at the moment is as destructive or assertive as it needs to be. And I think we've seen that over the first 2 rounds. I mean, Ashton Evans again is one of the best back rowers in the league last year, and he's already started on that same sort of level, if not even better, this season. So it's like I said, you can't win the league this early in the season, but you can effectively throw it away because a side like Newport will, just like any other good side, will want to have that home semi-final at least, if not a home final, because it can make the difference. It really can, and they will be disappointed at the moment, and they need to start sorting it out sooner than later. Otherwise, as you say, sides like Quins are starting to, motor a little bit. Aberravon are starting to look like a side that are improved from last season. Bridgend as well. So you could find yourself a lot further down this table very, very quickly.
So you've just touched on their opponents for next week. So we'll swap over to them because Swansea travelled to Churchbank to face the Drovers. And that game was 31-all going into the dying embers, only for the Drovers to get a penalty for the Swansea 9 kicking the ball back into the scrum, which obviously was given by the assistant. I believe it was Ben Whitehouse who was the actual ref. So they seem to be firing, a fair bit. I don't know if it says more about their attacking game and how they are playing, or more that Llandovery haven't really hit top gear as of yet. So I'm gonna. Who shall I pick? Go on, John. What did you see? You've seen the highlights, yeah?
Yes, I've seen all the highlights this week. Again, God, and I was telling everyone last week, yeah, get on Llandovery on the handicap -14. There's your banker for the week, and so you're welcome, everyone who's won jinxing with my predictions. But again, I don't mind messing all of my predictions up if it means we get results like this, because God, that was so close to being another upset. And I didn't give Swansea a chance, and I'm really glad to be wrong. Yeah, I don't really know what to say because I'm so stunned by it, but I'm impressed with how it looks like Swansea have fronted up to Llandovery because I thought the pack might have blown them away a little bit, and they really haven't because Swansea have always got it behind. They've got a massive second row, it looks like. I think Swansea went on a charge right through it, and just short of the line, but they scored from it after. And the fullback's name, I can't remember at the moment, I do apologise, but he was causing havoc by the looks of it, and he looks like a unit of a fullback as well. So I'm really, you almost think Swansea might be a little disappointed that they haven't come away with some sort of result from this, with how close it's gone into the dying seconds. But if you'd offered that to them before going up there, they'd have bit your hand off for it. So I'm just really, really pleased to see Swansea improving like this and going away from home to do it as well. And Llandovery would have been flying after going to Newport and coming away with a win as well. But Llandovery is still, 2 games, 2 wins, and they're doing what they got to do. But yeah, they won't be happy with leaking 30 odd points at home to Swansea. So I'm just interested to see where it goes. I hope Swansea do kick on, apart from when they play Aberravon, which they decided to do last year when their first game. But yeah, it's so great for the league though to see these results popping up, and when we're ridiculously writing clubs off, which looks like this year you don't write anyone off.
No, you bang on there. With round 2, 8 teams have won a game, and the two they have, and they're going head to head over the next fortnight. So who knows? Maybe they pick up one each. I mean,
Sorry, and Lewis Edwards,
Put
by
in
the way,
my-
was the Swansea fullback I was trying to think of. I've just seen it just to give him his credit in with his name, rather than that big
Credit him.
fullback.
the big fullback. That's how he is known. I think his brother's a lock, so there's some good genes there. So yeah, putting my drover's hat on, concerned with some of the softness of some of these tries. I think I clocked a croc roll just before one of them as well, which wasn't called. So I'm more aggrieved that it's 34-31. You go down to Newport. All right, it's not a great score line, the one score, but you've on the park you've beaten them comfortably, and then you're coming home and you basically you're letting Swansea come at you, and I don't mean as disrespect to Swansea, I mean as in Drovers can show a lot more than what we've currently seen, which is unfortunate. But like you said, 2 games, 2 wins, little niggles here and there, but they're looking strong. Rob, take the last word on this.
Yeah, I think it just typifies of Llandovery of old. This is just, it's not a vintage display. You've come off the back of a really good win away to Newport. You seemingly heading for a draw. You very much could lose this game, but effectively pick up. I said all four. I say all four. Full 4 points. For the win, and then you go from there and go, right, well, we'll have the extra bonus points already tucked in the bag. There's your 5. 10 points out of a possible 12. You move on from these sort of results. Ultimately, it's a lot easier to move on from them when you're winning. And it's one of those ones, the sign that, scrum half's kicking it back into the scrum, whether you rate that decision or not. One, is good to see an assistant stepping in and making a call, because far too often at this level, they either don't get involved or told not to get involved. But also, is you're playing in the right areas. Llandovery were encamped on their own line, and Swansea were putting them under all this pressure. There's a reason Swansea have not folded, but have given away a silly penalty. It's because they're under a bit of pressure on their own line, or in their own red zone, and it's gone from there. And you can't gift those opportunities to a side as good as Llandovery. So yeah, they'll be happy with the win, and a lot of work on. But again, I think they're a side a bit like Newport. They've not settled on where some of their sort of squad is at the moment, especially up front, where they've had a bit of a turnover the last couple of years, and that's where their Scarlets are coming in, sort of thing, which again have helped with that turnover.
Yeah, one thing I do have to note is the young boy that was highlighted in the first game picked up a try in this one, Dom Kasuth. He seemed to have picked up a bit of a leg knock, so he's currently awaiting a scan. Hopefully, it's nothing major, because he's looked a real good prospect, not just for Llandovery, but for the Scarlets and even further up with Wales. Who knows? On to the next game, which is Bridgend hosting Ebbw Vale, which, if you clicked onto my little comment earlier, they got another 6 points. 34-17 was the win. Believe the score was 31-3 at one point. So, Rob, again, you are our resident Ebbw Valian. Ebbw Valian, I like that. You're a Valian. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, I alluded to this a bit last week, where you've got to be patient down at Bridgend. You don't just go down there and chuck the ball around. They're a dangerous side. They had some dangerous players to come off the bench as well. And going in 10-3, it was a bit of the conditions weren't great, and sort of in and out a bit, as we've seen recently, where one minute you're playing in basking sunshine, the next minute is blowing a hurricane and it's hammering down in your face. But that control sort of came out in the second half. Bridgend, I feel, have been narrowing the defence quite a bit this season. across the opening 2 games, and whether that's a sign of the 2 teams they're playing against are forward-orientated teams, but Ebervale were taking it wide. Couple of more tries, both hookers getting on the score sheet in that second half. And as you say, I know. The hookers are scoring again for Ebervale. Is one of those. The scoreline started ticking up. You get try 2, 3, 4. So all of a sudden, there's your bonus points sort of wrapped up. Yellow cards for Bridgend helping in that, and then swung the other way. It was once Ebervale had got that 31 points on the board, it switched the other way. A yellow card up front for Ebervale, and Bridgend are a good quality side. They're a dynamic pack still. They want to play some positive rugby, and ultimately they were looking like they were gonna not get something out of the game, but they're going to stop that Ebervale 6-pointer, which again is something for Scott Baldwin and the team. Is well done, lads. We dug in there, we stopped it, grabbed a couple of late tries, and all of a sudden you're going, okay, the scoreline sort of flatters them, I guess, at that stage, even though it's still a wide gap. They give away the penalty late on, and like I said, Evan Lloyd is kicking well this year. He's 90% goal kicker, which is the highest percentage we've seen so far, even though he's, I think, 3rd or 4th on the actual points tally list. And like you said, is from Jason Strange's perspective, 12 points from 12, a Cardiff double to come, is you probably couldn't be in a better position, and no injuries off the back of this game, which is always a positive, because obviously leading out of Aberafan, there was a couple of knocks.
Yeah. Obviously, we saw a bit of a high fly in Ebervale last week when we were talking about them. Only that one lovely backs try, which was new signing David Thomas just cutting a line for fun and basically showing what he's done all last year for Merthyr right up here. So, credit where it's due. Done a good bit of research for there to get our boy in your back 3, especially consider all things going on there at the minute. So that brings us to our final game of the round, and I'm not sure whether I was undecided as to which one would be classified as the biggest upset of the round. So I'll let you boys decide whether or not it's Quins beating Cardiff at Cap, or is it RGC beating Pontypool at Pontypool Park 23-14? I mean, wow.
I think it's still got to be the Quins upset. When you look at the results from last year at Cap, that's the massive turnaround, isn't it? But when I saw the RGC result as well, I was like, what?
So, I mean, going into this round, okay, you look at the favourites of the game. Cardiff were favourites over Quins. Newport were favourites over Aberafan. Pontypool were favourites over RGC. Llandovery were heavy favourites over Swansea. That almost turned into one. We almost had a full rout of upsets on our hand, which is absolutely brilliant for the league. This is turning absolutely ultra competitive this season, which I am absolutely loving.
We're all here for it.
John, you've been quiet. Tell us what you saw from the very little highlights we had of Pontypool RGC, because I think they only give us the tries, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just trying to watch them again now as we're chatting, but yeah, I didn't see that.
He has watched them. He's just trying to watch them again.
I'm trying to catch some names in my head as well, so I can actually, rather than just say, that winger or that fullback or something. But yeah, this was. That's not bad, is it? Actually, coming down to Pooler Park, and all said this is not going to be a pitch that suits them. That they've got the big travel as well, which in fairness to them, they've got to do every game they go away, and they've dug in, stuck in there, and I don't really know how they've managed it, because I didn't. But then again, they had some really good performances last year. It was just it always seemed to be on the road at these kind of pitches and things where they come unglued, and they were really good against Cardiff last week, but still eventually were come out on the losing end of it. So, one thing you've got to do if you've got to pull Park is you've got to match them up front. And they've done that. They've turned it in, gone in at half time ahead, which I think is massively important up there. We found that out a couple of years ago. If you, don't go in behind at Pontypool at half time, but if you can stick with them or stick your nose in front, that's what you want to do. Again, a bit similar to our game against Newport, Pontypool did also put themselves under pressure and loose pass, which have led to a crucial try. Well, the winning try, I think, we ended up being. And again, I'm so pleased to be so wrong with a prediction, and it's another amazing result for the league. And I'm all here for it this season. This has been just fantastic, and I hope this carries on now. Pontypool are going to bounce back at some point, though, and that's going to be a blip for them, because that's first game in over 12 months, I think, at home they've lost.
Yeah.
So now in Pontypool, that could be the only game they lose at home all season. So they'll come back next week now, want to prove a point, and hopefully RGC will be going playing next week with a load of confidence from picking up an away win at Pooler Park.
Pontypool, they're not bouncing back for like 3 weeks. I think they said they let Carmarthen get 3 games on the bounce. Yeah, they got double header there, so they're gonna lay back a little bit. But no, and like you said, everything when it comes to the away games for RGC is stacked against them, and it's stacked against them so highly. So this result is just absolutely brilliant. Just taking in the few minor things like, the 4 hour plus travel, the complete opposite playing field. And like Robert said, it is obviously there's only 10 teams, so someone's got to have the worst pitch in the league. And with them, and you can still have a really good pitch and be classified as that. So it's unfortunate they've been left for that title. So Rob, let's round this round out. Final thoughts.
Yeah, it's so good to see RGC fronting up. They were winning penalties in the scrum against the head, which is something that RGC aren't really known for. Completely disrupted the Pontypool lineouts. And I gotta be honest, Morgan Allen in that Pontypool pack was probably the one good sole performer. It's very rare that a Pontypool side don't put their stamp on it, but at the moment they're quite sloppy. They played, 4-point win against Swansea, and Swansea have shown again this week that there's points available against them. So yeah, I'm interested in this Pontypool side because they made 9 changes, I think it was, from round 1. But is that because they thought they were gonna ultimately get on top of RGC and claim a win? I think it probably shows a bit of naivety from their sort of leadership team. That's you're making that many changes. What's the point? You're 2 weeks into Super Rugby Cymru, no major injuries as such. You're not rattling 6-7 players round for injury. You've got Morgan Lloyd drops back in and had a good game at scrum half, but RGC are looking a lot better, which is again ironic because I was saying at the start of the season, I think we were all expecting them nearer the bottom. I was expecting them to finish flat bottom. They've lost a bit of talent up front, but at the moment, his performances like this can give them a good bit of stead. A solid performance with ball in hand against Cardiff at home, Pontypool away. That's 2 tough fixtures. They're sitting in 5th with 5 points. They'll take that. There's going to be easier fixtures to come. There's obviously home fixtures to come. If you're nicking these points, as we said with Aberafan earlier, John, is you target your home games. If you're a side like RGC, you can't be targeting too many away games. 1, because of the travel. 2, they just haven't got the pack to deal with a lot of the top 4 teams. So you start picking fixtures, and ultimately that will give you X amount of points at the end of the season. And as a coaching staff, you go, we think that'll put us 5th or 6th. I think if they be aiming for top 6, personally, I think it's top 5. If they can, that's what the coaches will probably be looking at a realistic option.
Big
But
shout.
then once once you sort of look at it from this perspective, these are all additional points. They were probably looking at no more than 1 point to be picked up from this game. They've picked up
There's
4.
an extra win for them now this season, isn't it?
Yes, they are. They're already probably +3 on their target, at least. They probably weren't looking at more than 2 points, if I'm being honest. Yes, the coaches will always and the players will always say and want to be winning and believe they can win, but after these fixtures, this is probably 60% better than where they were going to be.
And that rounds up round 2 of Super Rugby Cymru.
One
Not
round.
a dull moment at all. You're bang on it, John. So if you're still with us, please like, share, subscribe. There's now apparently a hype button on YouTube. Hype everything. Just do it. We want some engagement. Let's see what it does. I want to know what this hype button apparently does. So,
Yeah, hype. Stay hyped.
Hype. Can't be hyped if you're with SRC. You got to be hyped. So this coming round now. So the first of the double header round we will see this year is this one and the Christmas derbies. We get back-to-back fixtures. So I don't think we're going to see squads from Bridgend or Aberafan. So we'll go backwards today, and we'll start with this TV game that we're going to see this Thursday night on S4C. Click online, wherever you get your SRC rugby fix. So
I think you can even watch them on the iPlayer.
yeah, that's clicking it. I think that's click. I want to say it's click. I don't know. They're online. They're definitely on YouTube. I know that much for a fact. So, Bridgend, Aberafan. I have got some word from Scott Baldwin. I'll be honest. He's one of them that likes to leave a voice note. So I won't go through absolutely everything he said word for word. But the gist of it is he felt there were a lot of avoidable penalties in that game against Ebbw Vale, and the game was lost in a 18-minute window just after halftime, where they gave away something like 13 penalties. 10 of them were avoidable, and the game was just gone by that point. They spoke about the defense after the game. They spoke about the pre-game. Not really a great deal of positives to be taken from this game. But he said it's evident, that discipline, they get it sorted, and they are in games. They are in with a fight, and they are, looking to move forward. In terms of Aberafan, they said they're looking to be consistent and keep things focused going forward. You've had a great win against Newport. Where you played was exciting. So hopefully we get to see more of the same on Thursday night. So bit of, I don't know how truly, it's Ebbw Vale. So, and without seeing the full 80, obviously we can't really say how honest he's being with himself in that. But let's say he is being 100% true to source. Where does this leave Bridgend going in against Aberafan, John?
Well, it's going to be one of the games that they're going to target. Obviously, they did a double over us in the league last year. So one thing Aberafan won't be going there is complacent. And one thing Bridgend can be with us coming down is confident, because they know they can beat us. Where I don't think they will, obviously. But because again, for Aberafan, as much as Bridgend are going to target this for 5 points at least. This is one of those away games now where the Aberafan need to be targeting. Like you say, win as many home games as you can, hopefully all of them, and then target 3, 4, maybe 5 away games against the teams below and around you. So this is good. This has to be one that Aberafan target, and you can't ask for a bigger confidence boost than coming off beating the reigning champions who beat us 3 times last year. And we've beaten them, turned them over this year, and probably could have been a little bit more as well. So I'm thinking I am going to go for Aberavon on this one because I feel they've sorted a lot of problems from now. I still think there's some there. Like we've still conceded average of 30 points from the first 2 games, which isn't good enough because Bridgend have got plenty of tries and points in them. So we've got to keep Bridgend to 1, maybe 2 tries and keep them in the teens. You can't be letting them score high 20, 30 odd points because especially if it's a nicer weekend than we had last week because they'll relish that. Bookies at Dragon Bet reckon Bridgend are slight favourites for this one at 4-6 with Aberavon 11-10 with a 3-point handicap for Aberavon. But I do think it's coming together nicely. I think for Aberavon, I think they've worked on a lot of the deficiencies from last year. So if they could just tighten the defence up a bit more, then with Keelan Cullen, I think Keelan Cullen's going to make such a difference this year. Just having that tactical kicker, 90% goal kicker, it's going to make such. Well, we had 3 penalties against Newport, which have won us a game in the end. So I'm going to go for an Aberavon win here. I could see it being one of those wins again where we score 3 tries and just miss the bonus point. So I'll go an Aberavon win and a Bridgend losing bonus point.
Oh, John is going very specific. So, Rob, I'm slightly on the fence by you. Is the Brewery Field, is that home factor going to be enough? This is the 3rd home game in a row. Obviously, just got over the line against Quins. 6-point loss, as in, 6 league point loss against Ebbw Vale. And now to Aberavon before they go on their first away game. So, which way are we going to be going?
This is a close one. I think that the table, the bookies odds, everything shows this is going to be probably a 1-score game. I'm looking at it going, who's played who and sort of how have they controlled it at the moment. They've both played Ebbw Vale, which is probably the only comparison you can sort of make, and both ended up with a similar score, which again just tells us how close this is going to be in terms of how well they matched. One thing I think Aberavon are better than what I thought they were going to be at the start of this season before ball was sort of kicked off is up front. Yes, the scrum isn't quite going as they as they would hope, but everything else is going quite well. And I think at the moment, Bridgend just I don't see them having enough control on this game. Scott Baldwin said, there's 10 avoidable penalties, 13 given away in that 20-minute spell, but that's come from pressure. That ultimately you're making mistakes because you can't cope with the other team and what they're doing at the time. And I just think at the moment Aberavon have got a little bit too much. It won't be by much, but it'll be a little bit too much. Like you said, Quins were unlucky late on, threw it away sort of thing, really. But yeah, I think this is going to go Aberavon.
Ooh, and we all know how I hate
Wise man said.
having a whitewash, and I've gone against the head on both TV games, and I've come out on top so far. So why not keep the trend running? Go on, Bridgend, just for shits and giggles. Okay, so that brings us on to Saturday and some top quality action. So I've heard from both coaches with Carmarthen against Pontypool. So I'll start with Tom Hancock of Pooler. Full credit to RGC who adapted to the conditions and deserved their win. We're very disappointed in our performance. Didn't establish any physical dominance that we spoke about, even though our line-out functioned pretty well. Kicking game and backfield coverage was second best. We had 7 entries into the 22, and we just didn't take enough of our chances. We got to stay tight, learn and improve quickly, taking lessons and learning as both players and coaches. Having won away at Cardiff last Thursday, Quins will be confident and well rested. It's always been a tough place to go and win, but we managed it last year in the Cup, aiming to get back on track this Saturday. And Steph Thomas from the Quins, delighted to get a result against Cardiff. Plenty to work on, but first wins on the board at a recent league champions is a big achievement. Head into our first home game against Pula, which will require the same level of application and performance. Round 2 results showing how tough this league is. There's no easy fixtures. Home advantage will help, but it guarantees nothing. Nevertheless, we're looking to get another W on the board. So I think fairly honest from both of them. I think we had enough discussions during and after the Thursday night game on where some of Quinn's problems are, and they do need to work on them if they're going to make a maintained challenge through the season. They'll get away with it. The halfback paid in the game management. They will get away with it for a few games for the season, but they will not get the full 18 plus the cup. They just won't manage it at all. Pontypool, I'm just hoping where they are now, that is as good as they get. I'm hoping there is no backlash. I'm hoping this is the standard they will be at this season. I am being deluded here, but that's my secret hoping. Rob, give us your thoughts.
Yeah, this is one of those ties. It's the beauty of the league this year. This is going to be another close one, you fancy. Again, Quins is not a great pitch. The surface is, doesn't cut up very much, but is a bit of a wonky pitch. Dips down in the clubhouse corner, and it's quite open to the elements. It swirls if the wind is in there. There's probably conditions that help Pontypool, but then the way that Quins are playing, you'd also say that they're getting stuck in. So the pack is fronting up. I mean, yes, I've already highlighted Cardiff pack isn't a great one at the moment, but they got stuck in at the scrum. And I think they will do again. And I think Pontypool not settling on a squad yet, in terms of a 15 or a starting pack, doesn't help them. But I think the decider here is Quins at the moment have got their backs running. They're showing that they're starting to cut people apart when they have a bit of ball in hand. Yeah, Ellis Price needs to command his troops a little bit better, and their halfback pairing are young and are not quite running the show as such. But when they have that opportunity, they're taking it. So I'm going to make you very pleased by you, Martin. I'm going to go for Carmarthen Quins win you.
Boom, boom, boom. That's what we like to hear. Now, is Bookie going to back it up? And what do the odds say?
Well, the odds have Quins as favourites for this one. I think you'd expect that from a bookie to go for the home team. They're 1-2. Pontypool is 6-4. They're giving Pontypool a 6-point start with a handicap betting 10-11, and I'm thinking that sounds about right. I think we're going to get a trifecta here because I'm feeling Quins for this one as well a bit. I think they're two very, very evenly matched and similar sides. So I think Quins are going to be able to negate Pontypool's strengths. They're going to be flying high after coming away from Cap with a win. And that's when you come away with a big away win, then that's what you want to do. Then is go home for your next game. So it might be jumping slightly on the bandwagon here, but just going up. Quins could and should be 2 from 2. So I think coming back home, this is the way they are playing. They're going to be so confident, and I think there will be a backlash from Pontypool, but I just think it's not going to be. I think Quins are just going to sneak this one as well and get their second win of the year.
Oh, wow. That is our first 3-0 of the week. Let's hope I remember it's a 3-0 of the week, as I kept forgetting last time out. Ebbw Vale against Cardiff. This is a nice, tasty fixture. Obviously, Shield back on the line. It's at Eugene Cross. Eugene Cross? Yeah. Got to get that right. It was just, I keep thinking sign the glass. It's messed me up.
Oh, it's not that good. Oh.
No.
Too much, but
wow. So yeah, what more can really say? These are two juggernauts. Like I've already said, I think Ebbw Vale are going to finish top of the league. don't necessarily think they're going to win the playoff rounds, but that's a different story anyway. Cardiff are not totally firing as of yet. Like you said, they're missing a lot of experience. Without seeing their 23, which obviously is just something we have to deal with. Sometimes we get lucky and we get to see one match's 23 before we make these calls. Unfortunately, this week we don't get to see any. But I don't think I can go against Eberville at home. I'm really sorry. We leave Rob till last year. John, tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking pretty similar, to be honest. Eberville have looked so good this season. They look like they've properly kicked on from last year. And they were double finalists last year and Shield winners, and so they had a pretty good season anyway. But they look like they've kicked on from it. Massively impressive and just massive. They look like a big pack of forwards roaming around that pitch when they're on there. And I think Cardiff are going to struggle to contain that, especially at Eberville's ground, because, well, Shield winners, they don't lose at home. So it's exactly the same odds as the last game we spoke about. Eberville 1-2, Cardiff 6-4, 6-point head start for Cardiff. I thought that might be a little bit bigger, to be honest, but these are, like you said, these are two juggernauts, and we don't know what the teams are going to be. But I would still back Eberville at home, probably against anyone this year. So 6 points again, I think, might be a stretch against Cardiff, but I could see them getting 5. So Eberville 5 points for me.
Ooh, he's not going for the maximum. So, Rob, are Ebu going to drop their maximum points total?
Is probably going to be a maximum of 5 points. This one, like you said, I think both sides have too much quality in them for the gap to be 15 or more points. Even if we think that, say, Cardiff's pack is missing a few key figures, I don't think that is a 15-point gap. It could be. Don't get me wrong, there's enough quality in Eberville or Cardiff to put that sort of gap in play. But I think the conditions are going to turn back to wet and windy this weekend after a couple of dry days in the week. I think Cardiff are missing a few key men up front, and this is not a place you want to come missing. 1, your captain, 2, last season's captain, and 3, one of the best open sides in the league, sort of thing. It's one of those. Cardiff, you need to see their squad, because they could turn up and have a load of professional players drop down, and all of a sudden, that 23 looks extremely tasty and stacked. Or on the other hand, we could see players missing, and they're looking a bit threadbare. But yeah, it's gonna be a good game. I think Eberville are a different animal up at Eugene Cross. And based off what I've seen of Cardiff so far, I think because they're struggling against packs, like Carmarthen's, which is not a bad pack, but I think it's that tier below Eberville's. So yeah, I go with John with this one. I think the Shield's been retained.
Oof, another whitewash on the prediction board. It's not the way I like to see things, boys. Okay. Next up, Newport at home to Swansea. And I so wish that Swansea were at home in this round, because I could justify going for them. But again, the quality that the top 4 teams have, Newport, they've taken 2 really tough losses now. They're back home. They're against what is the bottom side in the league. They've got to show up. They've got to do something. Whether that's absolutely reverting to type and just going for what they know, I'm not sure, but I can't see Newport giving up a 3rd loss. No, not with this fixture. I really can't. John, back for the bookies corner.
Yeah, probably agree with that. As much as I'd love to pick Swansea for this one, with how good they were last week. But then again, I didn't think they were going to go up, but they didn't go up and win. But they were so close and so much closer than we all give them credit for. But yeah, that's what it is more than anything. Just can't see Newport losing the first 3 games. If this, like as you say, if this was done St Helens now, I think I'd be very tempted to pick Swansea to sneak this one. But I think because it is back at Newport on that fast pitch of theirs, and I think that might suit Swansea as well with some of the strike runners they got.
That
Bookies
big fullback.
yeah, that big fullback they got. They've got Newport 1-4 for this one. Swansea 5-2, a 10-point head start with a handicap, so the biggest one we've seen so far. But yeah, if Swansea can come away with again or take some points from it, 1-2 losing bonus points, that's still a good result against the reigning champions. So it's not disrespect to Swansea to pick Newport again, but yeah, Newport is home. They've got so much quality, and they're going to be looking for a reaction as well after losing 2 games. No, they're not going to be happy with that. The coach is not going to be happy. The supporters are certainly not happy. Speaking to them in the clubhouse after. So yeah, Newport 5-pointer I'm going to go for, but not the 6. I think Swansea are going to have some points and some tries in them from this one.
Ooh, okay, Rob, on to you. Are we going to have another clean sweep?
Yeah. Whilst I think there's not a lot between these sides on the table and on paper at the moment, I think we've seen Newport look a lot better. I mean, Swansea were limp against Pontypool. You know, land every game was fast and open. This isn't going to be a fast and open game. It's going to be a lot more controlled from Newport, especially down at their place. And I think this is a sort of game that Newport ideally want. Like we saw how the doubles last year sort of kicked on a few teams or kick-started a few teams. I think Newport are going to be one of those teams this year that rely on this sort of double fixture back to back to sort of really get them going. And I just think they're too much of Swansea. So yeah, we've got another 3-0.
Another 3-0. Oh, I got a feeling there's only going to be one game. Actually, no.
I don't know when this next one could split.
Yeah. I'm hoping there's a bit of split. So, final game that we get to talk about, and we will end our show on Llandovery travelling up north to RGC. I'm going to make it quick because I think we might be approaching the hour mark. I'm just going to back the Drovers because how can you not back the Drovers? They're the Drovers. John, give us some numbers, my friend.
Well, the bookies think that as well. They got RGC at 2-1, Llandovery 4-11, plus 8 points for RGC. They're thinking. I think this could be the game of the weekend. I think this could be a real cracker on that fast pitch up there because it kind of negates the weather a bit. Then on that pitch, you know, it's the travel. You don't want to go up. No, RGC got to do it every away game, but still, the ones who have to make that journey don't want to make that journey. And I think RGC are going to be so buoyed by that win last week, and because of the way it came as well. No, it was literally every condition you could think of that wouldn't suit RGC, and they've come away with an away win. So we're not gonna have a trifecta for this one. I'm thinking RGC are gonna sneak this one in, and what could be a high scoring like 30 odd game, end to end stuff, and it could be a last 5 minutes or even 2 minutes. Someone's going to nick this, and I think it could be RGC.
Yeah, I'm going to set it out there. I think we're going to see a point a minute. This has got to hit 80 points, surely, the way everything's going so far. Rob, finish us off for the season. Who is going to win 2-1? Will it be the Drovers or will it be RGC?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Drovers. I do think we're going to see again a north of 60-point game. But I just think at the moment, Llandovery, even though they're not their full stride, we're seeing them score points. We're also seeing them defend astutely and in good quality games against Newport. They just got that way of winning games at the moment. I don't think this is the difference. Our Llandovery are winning games, whether they're playing good or playing bad by their standards. I don't think RGC are in a place where they're going to go away to Pontypool, home to Cardiff, pull out a big performance, but not quite sort of the full picture. Then go away to Pontypool and pull a victory out of it, and then come back home to Llandovery. It couldn't have really gone much worse in terms of the fixtures, but yeah, I just think at the moment Llandovery they're doing one of their runs here. I think you don't realise it at this stage because the quality of performances isn't fully there, but they're on one of their runs for me, so that's why it's Llandovery.
And that wraps us up for this week. That is round 3 of Super Rugby Cymru done and dusted.
No pun intended.
Oh, well, no pun intended. Okay, so that brings us to a conclusion. Is that better? Is that... we are done for round 3 and we are done for this week's podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Boys, thank you for joining me. We hope you've all enjoyed, tolerated, whatever word you use to describe, tortured. I don't know. It's up to you.
Thank you to all our super troopers. We've all decided, not just me, that's what we're going to call our super troopers.
We've all decided, have we? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, John.
Remember, we all decided on that last week.
I think John, he was having a few on the Wednesday night, not just the Saturday. Must have gone all the way through. Super troopers out there, if you like it, listen to the pod. If you don't, well, actually, we're late on, so you haven't got a choice anymore. And thank you so much for listening and supporting us in whatever way you can. Like, share, subscribe. Subscribing is really, really helpful. And I mean really helpful. Thank you, boys, for joining me. As always, we will do it all again next week. Ta-ta.
Good night, everyone. Super.